yourself, or you can never say how you really feel. Until now, yeah. When the sun down, my mind is on the rundown. I be feeling like my happiness is on the come down. But when I speak to you, I feel like it's a touchdown. Finally found me someone I can really trust now. I always had so much to say, but no one to say it to. If I can talk to you today, I know I can make it through. So let's have this conversation like a radio station. So let's have this conversation like a radio station.
It's finally Friday, and it's time for the conversation with Maria Byrd.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back. You are listening to the conversation with Maria Byrd, and I'm super excited about today's show because we have with us a very special guest. From a baby, she was told by everyone that she was destined for greatness. Her ministry, PX3, Me, Pretty, Powerful, and Prophetic Women, is about the empowerment and unity of women through building healthy self-esteem and relationships through the love of God. God has now anointed her to go forth as an author with her new book, Broken Pieces, a true story of how God can take all of the brokenness of our lives and mend us back together again to make us whole for His glory and for His use. Please help me welcome to the show my very special guest, Mintoria Webb. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
Yes. Wow, woman of God, it's an honor to have you today. How are you?
I am doing just great. Glad to be here. Glad to make it.
Yes, absolutely. Wow. Well, thank you so much again for coming. It's definitely an honor to have you here with us today. There may be someone that's being exposed to you and your ministry for the first time. Okay. So can you just tell the people a little bit about yourself?
Okay, my name is Mintoria Webb. I am originally from Atlanta, Georgia, so I'm an original peach.
Yes.
I'm the oldest of 3 kids with my mother, about 8 or 9 with my father, somewhere along that line. And basically, I'm 40 years old. I have 4 children, ranging from 22 to 9.
Wow.
Right.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank
Well,
you.
woman
Thank
of
you.
God, I just again want to say thank you so much for being here. Absolutely love your ministry, your message, your mandate, your new book, Broken Pieces, and how, you just let us know that God can take the broken pieces of our lives and mend them all back together again. And, as we were just talking earlier this week, just regarding your life's testimony, your life's journey, I just thank God, but that He's shown Himself to be faithful in so many different areas of your life. And so, can we just start from the beginning? Yes. Can you just tell the people? We go back in time. Okay. What type of child would you say you were?
Let's see. I was very, very. I was a curious kid. I would say I was always into something. Very mischievous. I was always like, people would say I've been here before, I guess, because I was always wise before my years. I would have conversations with grown people, asking them all kind of questions, finding out all type of their information. And my mom was like, if you're writing a book, leave that chapter out or save some for later. And so ironically, I wrote a book, but I would always just like talk to grown people. I mean, I didn't really pretty much get along with kids that often. I was always fighting them, but grown people I could pretty much get along with and just speak my mind. I was always one that spoke my mind.
Yes.
And I had this imaginary friend named Lucy. So Lucy was like, she would be able to do what I couldn't do or say what I couldn't say.
Come on, Lucy.
So my mama said, Lucy was gonna get me beat one day for saying some stuff. So eventually Lucy had to die off.
Yes, woman of God. Wow. We have so many different similarities as you describe some of your childhood. Let me ask you this. There's so much that we go through in life. Can you just tell us regarding your testimony?
Wow, my testimony is when I actually wrote the book and think about it, it goes deep. It started out with my parents being just young kids having me. My mother was like 16 when she got pregnant. My dad was 18. My grandmothers actually went to school together. They were kind of rivalries in school.
Wow.
My mother's mom didn't really care for my father's mom, and my parents end up, having a child together, which was me, which I guess I brought those two families together. And with my mom and dad being married young, you go through the courses of things. My father committed infidelity, and outside of it, him committing adultery, he ended up with more children. And that literally broke our home.
Help us.
And we ended up having to move in with the aunt who already had her children, plus my grandmother, plus my uncle. So, you go from having your own space as a child, a 2-parent household, which no matter what my dad did, my dad was always an excellent provider because he felt like that's what he was supposed to do as a man. That's what he was shown,
Right.
So he only did what he was shown. He repeated the history. And so with me growing up, not really seeing a stable relationship, even when my mom got remarried, it was still different because of the things my dad had took her through. My mom had been with my dad since she was 13.
Wow.
And so even with some of the relationships she was in, me watching, one of my mother's boyfriend was also her drug dealer. He was, kind of got her into crack cocaine. So that was different. Growing up from that, I don't even know.
Talk about this, woman.
I don't even know as a child how I knew, my mom and my aunt were going to the bathroom, and I was like, okay, why they going to the bathroom together? Like, what's going on with that? Like,
Right.
And so one day when they left out the bathroom, I went looking, searching, because I knew it had to be something. I would hear the sniffing. I'm like, why are they in the bathroom crying? What are they doing? And so I would hear the sniffing, and I went in and I found the white substance. I didn't know what it was, but me growing up with my parents smoking weed around me all the time, I knew if she had to go away from me and I couldn't see it, I knew it had to be something that wasn't good. So I went to the bathroom, found this plate, and flushed it down the toilet, and I knew
woman of God.
I knew she wanted to
flush it.
I know she wanted to, beat me. I knew I could have got in trouble, but I think they was like, okay, we can't say anything, because out of fear I would tell my father. So eventually he took care of us. We went to private schools while my mother was dating this man. I had the best of everything. So we went from a short season of being kind of living with everybody on top of us, so it felt good to be back in our own space. But at the same time, it still did not fill the void of not having my father in the house. The relationship with my father, it was still not fulfilling, because at one time I was like a daddy's girl. My dad took me everywhere with him. Like, from the times I could remember, my dad always had me with him. So to go totally from being your daddy's girl to now, just the relationship just felt like it was gone, because I didn't really see my dad as much, So that happened. And with me not growing up seeing a healthy relationship, because even when my mother got with my stepdad, like through the courses of life, when I look back over it, she was only doing the best that she knew how to do. And she was trying to cope with her pain, with the drugs and everything else, because she'd been with him since she was 13 years old. So I guess she had drugs, and like I said in my book, I had nothing to cope with what I was going with. I just had to take it straight up. No chasers, deal with the pain and the rejection of having a broken home. And that affects girls more than people realize this, because when you go looking for a mate or dating, you tend to choose people based on what you're looking for, and a lot of times we're looking for that father figure in a man. Yes. And he can't fulfill that void.
And woman of God, real quick, I just want to add this nugget to what you just said, because that's so critical. Oftentimes, I think when we make decisions, we don't realize the impact or that it's going to have on other people. Right. Like when that father, when that husband, when that man leaves that household, it's going to impact those children.
Right. No matter how you try to fill that void. And it's some great, step-in fathers that stepped up to the plate, and sometimes the children never miss a beat. But then there's those other children that long for the person that they came from. They share the same DNA with. They want to know, why did you leave me? Right. Like, why couldn't this work? You know what I'm saying? Because I used to see my friends, and they had stable households, and I would just admire it and look and think what it would be like to have two healthy emotional parents in the household, to show you love, to show you what it looks like to be in a healthy relationship. And even like I said, I love my stepfather, I love my mother. I still didn't quite see that even in their relationship, because my mother was still damaged herself from the previous relationships and everything that she had been through. But my stepfather came in and kind of he saved our lives, because my mother, things ended up happening to where we ended up having to go live with my father. And that was just, it felt so out of place. I mean, I felt like an orphan.
Come on, woman.
Like we didn't belong. You know what I'm saying? Like this wasn't our house, because my dad had a whole nother family outside of his original family. So we felt like the outside children versus that we were the first ones. So my stepfather helped my mother get on her feet, and she was able to get us back and get our own apartment. I never forget that feeling of running through the doors, like, again, you know, it's something that's mine. I got my room, you know, even with sharing with my brothers, because when my mom and dad was together, I had my own room, my own space, but I was even willing to share with my brothers. It was just a good feeling for us to be under one roof and to feel like it was our own place, you know. It was awesome. So just even going through that, you still feel the void of not having your father there. It's nothing like not having somebody to go ahead and affirm you, you know what I'm saying, and say, you're mine, this is how it's supposed to be done, you know, this is what he's supposed to do when he's dating you. My stepfather did a great job of making sure that nobody was in the house. You know, if I was outside, look, he's outside, he's peeking through the door, like, okay, you know, and that showed me that somebody did love me, and he did fulfill a void to a sense. But it was still anger and resentment on my end from my father, because I still felt like you left us. You didn't do all that you were supposed to do concerning me and concerning my brothers.
Yes.
So,
can you just share with us, you know, how that experience showed up in other areas of your life later?
Oh yeah, because I ended up getting pregnant at 18. I had my daughter, and based on, you know, the decisions that I was making, I chose to date down versus dating up. So that's a part of your self-esteem, you know. You choose to, you can have the best of the best, like the best apples can be right here. You'll still take one that's a little bit more softer and more easier, because you feel like it'll be too much work, or I don't really want them to get to know me, and maybe if they see all these flaws in me. You could be, people can tell you you're beautiful all day long, or see them, but the mirror has two sides.
Yes.
Because if you don't see that, no matter what anybody else see on the outside, you know what I'm saying, sometimes you don't see what other people see, and I think that's a misconception with a lot of people. They misjudge people, they misread people, and they think, oh, you don't know what it takes for her to get up and just be her every day. You know what I'm saying? To post a healthy picture that says she feels good about herself, because not everybody thinks the same way.
Woo.
And so with me having my daughter, I was in a singing group. I just signed a record deal. I felt like, you know, life was over, because how can I do this? My mom already got pregnant with me at 15. Now here I am at 18, you know, and this is one of the things I said would never happen to me. Like, I don't want to be anybody's mother. I just can't do it. I don't want to do this. And I was left with either have that abortion, which I thought about, or either have this baby.
Come on and testify.
This is when God really began to start dealing with me, because I didn't even know anything about the prophetic gifts. I didn't know anything about this, but I knew it was a girl. Like, I literally knew this baby was a girl, and I had to have her, and I went through hell carrying her. Like, I had to constantly hear I was going to have a miscarriage, and then when I finally got over the hump of not losing her, here comes my doctor saying, well, you're young, I found a couple to adopt your baby. You know, the conversation was so uncomfortable till I switched doctors at 8 months pregnant. I was like, no, this is uncomfortable. Yeah, like, where did this come from? Like, you know, you already, every month I had to come in to see you, get my mind prepared that I may be having a miscarriage, because I was bleeding and everything else through the pregnancy. It was a hard pregnancy, but I came through. I travailed.
Yes.
I kept praying. Even at an 18-year-old girl, I kept praying, and I just kept trusting God that if this is what you want, you know, I'm going to have her. And one of my classmates actually named my daughter. He said, when you have her, name her Destiny. And so I was like, Destiny. And it's like, it just stuck with me.
Yes. Wow. And you know, you said something that I thought was absolutely critical, because of, you know, maybe our father wasn't there when we was young, or, you know, just a lack of confidence, low self-esteem. Oftentimes as women and men, we will date down instead of dating up. Can you just talk about that a little bit more?
I have sabotaged so many relationships. I have sabotaged them because, for instance, I really said something to God. I said a prayer. I was dating my youngest son's father, and we broke up, and it was just heartbreaking for me. And I kept meeting athletes at the time, and I was like, okay, God, I don't know why I keep meeting all these athletes. I don't know, at the airport, the store, like most people meet regular men, I'm meeting athletes. And I was like, I just don't want to date them anymore. I was like, send me a lawyer, send me a doctor, send me an average big guy.
Professional athletes.
Right, professional. And so I'm started a new job. my grandmother just died. I'm starting a new job, and I'm driving down the street, and I see this man, and he's honking at me, and he rolls down the window, he waves, and I'm thinking, okay, maybe he knows me from somewhere. I wave too. I stop to the gas station. He gets out, and he starts talking to me. He gives me his card. He's an attorney. Now, mind you, my friend said, now, you just said, you know, doctor, lawyer, and attorney. So I dated him for a while, and I literally, when I felt like it was going into that direction, it was really getting serious, I kind of did something that I regretted painfully, because I ended up making a decision to be with Daniel's father that one time, and I ended up pregnant with Daniel, and that completely destroyed the whole relationship, a possibility of ever being anything more.
Wow.
But that was coming from a low place of self-esteem, because, you know, you feel like, I'm not good enough for this. You know what I'm saying? I'm not good enough for this lifestyle. I'm not good enough to have somebody like this. Like, he's college educated. He graduated the top of his class. I barely got out of high school. So how can I date somebody like this? So, you know, you have to, a poor self-image can damage a whole lot of
That's
things.
it.
Relationships, you tend to draw to people, try to latch onto relationships, even when they're not healthy. You feel like they're giving you something that you wasn't getting as a child. You know what I'm saying? Even with spiritual leaders, you know, we latch onto them as if they are God. They are, our, you know, they're our world. And the minute that they say something, or they critique us or put us down, or, you know, it damages you, it messes you all the way up. And which should, if you have a healthy self-esteem, you shouldn't be able to know yourself and know that whatever they say, people shouldn't have that much weight over their words, shouldn't have so much weight over your life. But when you don't know, and you haven't been affirmed and confirmed, and your parents haven't spoke, you know, into you, you don't really know who you are.
That's big. That's big.
So,
like you just said a word,
right.
like affirmation. You know, just having that affirmation oftentimes that we supposed to get from our parents.
From our parents.
But if they don't give it to us, we'll seek it, looking for love.
Looking for love
in all the wrong places.
All the wrong places.
Yes.
It doesn't just have to be with men. I mean, so many people get manipulated and, you know, mistreated, and it ain't just men that's doing this. You know, like, it's friendships, relationships. You know, so you have to be careful. You have to take some time back, and you have to really pray and ask God, who am I?
Yes.
Who did you create me to be? And, you know, instead of, I used to ask God to let me see myself the way people see me. And God said, no, you don't need to see yourself the way people see you. Because, you know, sometimes people will praise you one minute, and then he'll send you to hell the next. He said, so you need to see yourself the way I see you. Fearfully and wonderfully made.
Come on.
Even in your imperfections, there's still perfection.
Yes.
He said, so you have to understand this is you. This is who you are. All of your mistakes, all of your flaws, they make up who you are.
They make up who you are.
They make up who you are. You can't be anybody else. You don't know what they had to go through to get here. And though you feel like someone else had it easier, you still don't really know what they easy is.
That's it.
You know, but we judge like she got it. She always had it good. Look at her. She's like she never been through anything. And I'm like, you probably couldn't even walk. Not they say a mile. I don't even say a mile. Probably like less than a mile in my shoes.
Come
because
on.
you don't know. You don't.
We
know.
don't know. Woman of God, help us understand your process, because you know we just talked about how oftentimes people look for love in all the wrong places. And so as you was in some of those relationships, can you just tell us like what you went through while you was in those relationships?
I went through some, I feel like the same things as far as my mom, like infidelity or cheating. Like
I
got on Match.com. Me and my friend, I call her my sister at work. We decided, you know what? After I messed up, you know, with the attorney, I decided, okay, we'll try Match.com. This is a new dating wave. Everybody's trying dating online. So I decided, okay, I'm putting me a profile together. I'm going to see how it's going to go. Well, remember, I asked and prayed not to meet another athlete, right? I go online. How do you go online and you get an athlete interested in you offline? You know, you don't even think they're going to be online dating, right? So we talked for maybe 2 or 3 weeks, and my first instinct was like, okay, he's a little young. Not knowing that what he did until we talked, and I said, well, what are you getting ready to do? And he said, well, I got to get ready for camp. And I'm like, camp? You know, you teach, 4-H club? Like, what kind of camp? What are you doing? And he was like, no, I play professional football. I was like, oh. So,
wow.
You know, this is not going to be a relationship or anything. I said, I already know where this is going. It's going to be a friendship. And so for 2 years, that's what it was. I didn't let him, all we had was strictly a conversation over the phone. We talked over the phone. You know, I didn't fly out to see him. I didn't let him fly out. And eventually those feelings grew. So I did go see him. You know, one thing led to another, and we were in a relationship. And so I'm in this hard down relationship with you.
Come on, Tessa.
And you tell me about your kid's mother. I knew about your daughter. And the next thing I know, I had to find out online that you went and married someone else. Now, when I met you, you was on the bench. You know what I'm saying? You was like making thousands of dollars, barely minimum wage for a football player. That's what it's called, because it's like very, very below levels. He wasn't a millionaire. We started praying, fasting, you know. You was like, I know you're going to be my wife. Spoke life into me, you know, getting directions from me. I'm telling him different things to do, calming him down, kind of just helping him rebuild himself and his character, his self-esteem, because he too suffered from low self-esteem. He was adopted. You know what I'm saying? So here I am helping him to mend him, and he gets $1 million contract, and he goes and marries somebody else. And I got to find out about it online.
Come on. But you know, this is so good right here. Like, I mean, one of the things I love about my apostle Travis Jennings, he had a teaching that he taught us, sap suckers. Sap suckers. You know, those individuals in our life that would try to suck us dry of our anointing, of our virtue, of our strength, of our influence, of our prayer life. You praying for him. You done pray him all the way to the top.
All the way to the top. Told me, like, you literally, like, I don't know, you just heaven sent, like, literally. That's because crazy. You wouldn't do anything.
And you found out on, like, he didn't have the decency to tell you himself.
Because this woman had literally took him through hell, but she had bamboozled him. When she found out about he was dating me and I had 4 children, you know, she was kind of like, okay, you got a daughter. Like, how you going to go and play daddy to this woman? So with him being broken himself, growing up with his mother abandoning him, being abused by his father, and end up having to be adopted, he just felt like he didn't want his daughter to go through what he went through, which was a broken home. And even years later, we talked later, and of course he apologized to me and he explained his story to me. You know, it wasn't out of anything for the woman, it was for his child. And the marriage is still, it's not good, but he has to deal with it because he put himself in there. He said even when he talked to his pastor, you know, his pastor's like, you know, well, you said you do, and this is why your reasons for getting married, you kind of got to just deal with it because you don't want to lose all that you gained over this marriage. So I said, so you would rather stay miserable because you didn't listen to God the first time, which we all do. I said, I did the same thing when I married my husband. He even told me, he said, don't marry him. He's not the one. Just wait. I know you're hurt. And I know coming from me, you're probably not trying to listen. Don't marry him.
Let me ask you this, woman of God, because we know that hindsight is 20/20, and you know, as you look back on that particular relationship, was there like any? Because it's maybe someone that's watching that they in a wrong relationship. Was there like signs?
With him, no. Actually, with him, everything, we had such a good friendship. Everything felt so pure. With him, it was different. Like the love, the way when he said I love you, I knew he meant it. Because first of all, again, wasn't no sex involved. You had to talk to me over the phone for 2 years. You really had to get to know me. It was plenty of phone conversations, deep, intimate conversations of getting to know him and getting to know me. Things he shared with me, things I shared with him. Now, with the person